Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon, my hometown, out there on the edge of the prairie. Unseasonably warm early in the week, but now, thank goodness, the temperature has dropped into the single digits, which is to everyone's satisfaction, because those old stalwart ice fishermen were going to go out there no matter what, and in fact, they have been going out there no matter what. They drove out on that ice when there was open water a couple of weeks ago. They just drove out there, and some of them, 20 of them, were on this sheet of ice that was drifting away from other pieces of ice, and the fire department had to go out there in a couple of pontoon boats and rescue them, and some of them did not want to be rescued. Because the fishing is good this time of year, and so they resisted. Mr. Paulson was one. He just didn't want them to deal with him. He said, "I've been going out on ice for 60 years, and nothing's happened to me." And of course, that was right when he fell in, was when the ice broke off, and he fell in, and they had to grab him and pull him into the boat and wrap him up in a woolen blanket. And even then, he blamed them for what it. He said, this never would have broken off if you hadn't come in here with that outboard motor. See, blame the rescuers. That's why we're glad that it's turned cold, because those guys were going to go out fishing anyway. These die-hard ice fishermen. The fish houses have been out there since December. Some of them sinking down into the ice. They're at odd angles. It hadn't gotten cold, we would have lost some people. And then you think of all those memorial services that we would have had to go to, and who was going to speak at them, and some of these people, what were we going to say about them? They're not people you'd find it easy to eulogize, People like Jerry Diener, who was a wild kid when I knew him and didn't improve much as he grew up, which he didn't really do. He was the last person in Lake Wobegon to tip over a privy. He did this, the outhouse, which was by the warming house. This was years ago. And who was in it? Myrtle Krebsbach. An old lady, to tip over a privy with an old lady and say, it was just craven. It was just so cruel, so mean. People couldn't believe that anybody would do that. We were going to banish him from town, and then we thought better of it and decided to make him the janitor at the grade school instead. So he would deal with vomit on a regular basis. Which he has done. He was plowing the parking lot years ago at the grade school, and he went over a bump, and this mouse jumped out of the springs under the seat and ran up his pant leg. He was wearing loose pants, and it ran all the way up to where the two legs meet, and he hit it. Well, now that wasn't a good idea. And ever since, he's been wearing rubber bands around his calves. Well, now if he had gone through the ice and died, we would have had to find some way to say something nice about him. And it would have been a struggle. We would have been thinking about a mouse all that time. No, they were thinking they would have to cancel the winter festival because there was no winter, you see. So they were trying to think of something else. But now they think maybe they will do it after all. They had 5,000 people who came for ice fishing last year, which was pretty amazing. And they got the bright idea that they would put red or white or blue caps on these people, and they would form the stars and stripes with their heads. They would move in close formation and form the red and white stripes and the blue field there with the stars. It took them a long time, and it was cold out, and people kept going off because they needed to pee, but they finally got him in. They had somebody there from the Guinness Book of World Records, and they were going to set a world record in Lake Wobegon, and then he said, no, we once had 6,000 people forming a living flag, so this would not be the record. So they had everybody stand on one foot And it became the world's largest one-legged living flag. We're in the record book. You could look that up if you want to. We were relieved, though, that it turned cold here the way it did. There was the wolf moon this last Monday when it was warm, and that meant that a lot of people woke up during the night, combination of warm weather and bright light outside. Darlene from the Chatterbox Cafe, she woke up. She had a dream that she was on a ship that was sinking, and this man was on the ship with her, and she wasn't sure that he was going to rescue her. It was particularly traumatic for her because he's a man that she is in love with. There's been rumors about this in Lake Wobegon that Darlene, who's been single for years, ever since Arlen left her, that she had found a man and that she found him online and that they are their boyfriend and girlfriend. Also a rumor that she has a tattoo. And we're not sure about it, but we think it may be on her haunch. People have been asking her about this, and she's very close-mouthed about it. And then this last week, she was literally close-mouthed because she fell out of bed when she had this bad dream, and she broke a tooth in front, and she couldn't go see a dentist about it until next Thursday. And the combination of having a tattoo and a boyfriend and a broken tooth would be too much for one person to have. They would be merciless then. So she walked around tight-lipped, waiting on people, pouring coffee for people, until Mr. Berkey told her the story about Sven, who had a job waiting on table, and Ole came to see him at work, and Sven walked over to the table, and he had a spoon in his shirt pocket. Ole said, "What's that spoon for?" "Well," Sven said, "that's if somebody dropped their spoon, it would save time, you see. I wouldn't have to go to the kitchen to get one. I just pull it out of my pocket." "Oh," said Ole. "So what's that string coming out of your fly?" "Well," Sven said, "that's to save time. When I need to go to the toilet, then I can just pull it out with that string, and I don't have to wash my hands." "Well," Ole said, "how do you get it back in?" "Well, I get it back in with a spoon." Well, she smiled. She laughed at that. They could see she had a broken tooth, a tattoo, and a boyfriend. Oh, they've been hard on her. They've been hard on Darlene. But it's winter again. Things are looking up, and the ice is getting stronger and stronger every day, every single day, so the people can go out fishing. Fishing, it's not about the fish. It's not about food. You can buy walleye fillets cheaper than what it costs you to go out and fish for it. Fishing is about hope. That's what it's about. You give a man a fish and you fed him for a day, but you teach a man to fish and you've taught him to dream and to have big ideas. And if he catches a couple of walleyes, a couple of keepers out there, then he can imagine all sorts of things. He can imagine that he could win the lottery, and he could go spend a month in Rome, and he could discover the secret of life, and then he could come back to Minnesota in the winter, where you really can enjoy life and where you can really practice the art of living. Well, that's the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.